Hello everyone! In this episode I want to show you how you can animate material properties on material instances for your objects in Unreal Engine from the sequencer. So this is what it's going to look like. I've got this cup here and I've animated some of the color here. So color is just a demo value here. You can use any sort of opacity value or roughness or any of these other things, and they can all be animated from sequencer like that. We have to build a little bit of game logic for that, but it's something you're going to get used to, and it's very similar to what we did in the previous video about morph targets. Let's get started. I'm going to use the Stardust Saloon by Stonemason from the DAZ store as my demo project here, and one of the objects is a white ceramic cup here, and I think I'm going to go and grab that out and duplicate that, so that's going to be our demo object, so to say. Drop that down here, frame it up nicely. Whoops, perhaps not that close, but yes, there we go. This is going to be our object that we're gonna animate. So I'm going to use the color value, but as I said, you can use any value that is accessible via a material instance. Obviously we need a material for that, and I already have one. More specifically, it is an instance. So if I open that up here, you can see that under the global vector parameter values, there's a diffuse color here, and that's the value I'm going to animate. So this is an instance. Base material is the parent material, and this is the instance of that. And let's just make a mental note of this parameter, because we're going to have to specify that in the blueprint that we're going to make. Speaking of blueprints, I can't really do this on a static mesh alone or on a skeletal mesh, so it has to be a blueprint that will animate, because it needs some logic. It needs to hold a variable that will be the color value that we're going to animate, or any other value you want to animate. So float would be for opacity or for roughness or something like that. So let's go and make that happen. You do this with this nondescript menu up here. That's the, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like the three blobs connected with wires type thing. It's the blueprint menu. When you click that, you get these options here at the top, and convert selection to blueprint class is what we're going to use it for. New subclass is fine. I'm going to specify where that's going to go. I have a blueprints folder, and I'm going to call it BP Cup Demo perhaps. I think that's a good idea. BP Cup Demo. If I go and hit select, then my blueprint node graph goes up, and I'll dock that up here, and you'll see that this object is now in fact a blueprint. If only my face wasn't in the way. Here it is. It's now a blueprint, and I can go and edit it straight from here if I want. So if you ever need to make a change, but visually in the viewport, it's still the same object. So what Unreal Engine has gone and done here is it has created the blueprint itself, and then we have a static mesh component, which is in fact our cup. Here it is. There we go. So the first thing that we're going to need then is a variable down here. Let's go and create one, and this is going to be our color. I'm going to spell it with a U because I lived in Britain for a long while, and this is going to be a linear color, which is not spelled with a U. So there we go. And it's going to have to be instance editable up here, and it also needs to be exposed to cinematics so that we can go and dial it in from the cinematics. That's going to hold our color value. In order to be able to do this at sort of runtime, even though we're not playing a game, we are making this change at runtime. I'm going to use the construction script for that. And in order to make a change on an existing material here, on this namely, we need to create a dynamic material instance. Let's go and do that. Just type in create dynamic material instance, and it'll already know that you probably want to create this on your static mesh component, which is correct, which is the cup mesh here, namely this. And that is all we need to do here. It'll basically turn the instance and make it editable at runtime. We're going to go and promote this to a variable so that we can set it later. I'm going to call this one dynamic cup mat. And this doesn't have to be public, so we're just going to leave it as is. But now that we've created it, we also need to go and assign it back to the static mesh component here. So we're going to go and say set material, and that will be this one here. So go and put that material in. We only have one material index here, so that's something to make a mental note of. On our cup mesh, we only have material element slot 0, and that is exactly the one that's specified here. So make sure that's the same. If you have an object that's more complex, then make sure you do this multiple times if you want to change multiple material slots. And that is all we need to do here. Actually, no, there's one other thing. I'm going to set the color value. I'm going to give this an initial value, namely the one it already has. So we're going to go and drag this out, go slightly further to the back here and set it. And the color value that we're going to set it with will come out of what is currently set on the dynamic material instance that we're creating. So from here, we're going to go and get vector parameter value. And we're doing this because technically the color value is a vector parameter value, namely this one here. And we're basically just reading this out. So it's not white, it's sort of a gray here. And we're going to read this value out. I think it's a struct really. So let's put that in here, and then that in here. And that means that tidy this up a little bit, that means that our variable is going to be set to its initial color if we go and specify this parameter name here. And that also comes from here. So it's the value of diffuse color. Let's go and type that in here. Diffuse color in my case. And since we need to use this again in a moment, you can also promote that to a variable if you're going to reuse it. I'm just going to go and retype it in, but just know that is possible. And if you have to retype these things a lot, it might be good to promote these things to variables so you don't make any spelling mistakes. It makes just bug hunting just so much easier. So this is a node graph. Then we're going to go and create a dynamic material instance from the material that is currently on there. We're going to promote this to a variable, and then we're going to set that dynamic material on our cup, and then we're going to go and read the color value out, the diffuse color value, and set that as the initial value to our color variable. That's the one that we're going to animate on sequencer. Now we're going to go and compile this, and that should be it. So our cup hasn't changed. If I go and move that around, this is when the construction script is run. So if you just move this around, if something doesn't look quite right, do that. And now comes the hard work of animating this in sequencer. So for that, of course, I need a level sequence. So let's go and create ourselves one. I have a cinematics folder that I'm going to use for that. I'll go and call this SQ Material Demo. And that opens up, and of course I want to go and track my cup on here. So add actor to sequencer, and now I can go and hit that plus icon at the top, and I can go and animate myself a color value, which is a linear color. So let's go and just click any of these values here, and then I get myself this color track here. So now I can go and open this and set maybe a keyframe here. Maybe at 1 second it'll have the same color. So let's go and set another keyframe. You can also use this icon here, which is our color slot here under default. We haven't really slotted our variable into anything else, but this is our value here. This is our variable that we can animate. And let's say at over 2 seconds now, at second 3, I want this to, I don't know, turn red because whatever, the coffee gets hot or whatever. So technically I can go and click this and then drag red up, click OK. And then I should be able to click this button again, and it should have taken the color. But of course that doesn't work because it's broken. The sequencer is so broken in 5.5. I really don't know why, so we can't use this menu. So you're gonna have to go and make an adjustment in here with numeric value. So you can go and drag these up and down. I'm going to set red to 1 and then green and blue to 0. And you get a preview of it here. We don't see anything in the viewport yet because these values, they don't have logic yet. But I thought I'm going to go and show you that what we've done is already happening on the timeline here. At the end, I'm going to go and duplicate this keyframe so that it goes from white to red and back to white. So once again, it's animating, and you can see that the value is sort of changing here, but it's not reflected on the cup. Let's build that logic. This is happening in the event graph. We don't need the actor begin overlap. It's happening on the tick event. So here, really, what we're going to do is we'll take our dynamic material instance out, and we're going to get it, and we're going to set a vector parameter value on it, much like we did in the construction script. So set vector parameter value. We have the material instance. We also know this was called diffuse color. And this is where that second promoted variable might come in handy. And now we need to go and plug our color value into here. And that is all we need to do. Compile, head over here, move the playhead, and still nothing's happening. Man, what a drag. It doesn't happen because you have to be in simulation mode for this to be reflected in the viewport. So in Unreal Engine 5.5, it's this button here, simulate this level. In Unreal Engine 5.4 and before, you have to use this drop down and then use simulation mode from here. But here it's only in 5.5, it's only a single click, and eventually it works. So there we go. If I go and move my playhead, you can see the cup going from white. It stays white, and here it goes and blends into red. You can see the preview here, and then from red back into white. That is how that works. Now, extra credit, this isn't very performant. And for cinematics, I don't think it really matters. But for real-time gameplay, developers are always very concerned about performance, and once you're assured that this is working, what I would suggest you do is not call this on every tick event, but instead make another variable here and call it, it's a shame Unreal Engine's crashed. Okay, let's go and restart that. Continue from there. Has it saved anything? It hasn't saved anything. Thank you, Unreal Engine. I tell you, 5.5 is one of the most broken releases I have ever come across. Let's go build this logic again, shall we? So we need to take our dynamic material instance, and we need to go and set our vector parameter value on here. Practice makes perfect, huh? And it is, of course, diffuse color, and the value is the color that goes in here. There we go. So to make this a little bit more performant, what we need to do is grab another variable here. And it's also going to be a linear color variable. And it's going to be, I'm going to call it current color. And this, once again, is going to be linear color. And we're going to go and compare this with that. So let me go and compare the current color with this color. So equals, are they in fact equal, this and that? And if so, I'm going to go drag that out a little bit here, take that away. If that is the case, then we're going to go and make a branch, and only if they're not the same are we actually going to make that change. So this goes maybe up here, and at that point we want our color to go in here. And once that is run, so let's say they are the same, nothing happens, but if they're different, then we're going to run this on that particular tick, and then we're going to use our animated color value. If we're done with that, we're going to go and set the current color to the value of our actual color. And at that point, they are the same. And if they don't need changing, then they won't change on the next tick. So that is the idea behind that. Compile, quickly save, see if it still works in simulation mode. Oh yeah, also, of course, make sure we go and open our level sequence. Yes, and for some reason it's no longer in the same spot that I actually just had it. So I do apologize for that. I cannot tell you how sorry I am about that. It's maybe because I called Unreal Engine, it's a little bit broken, and that is quite possible. Let's put that here. Sorry about that, Cup. Are you working now? Yes, there we go. So it's working again now. One of those things. So yes, that is how you build the logic, and it's still working. Apologies about the crashing here, but now you know how to do it. If you haven't seen my other video about how to animate morph targets, it's a similar idea, but of course you don't need the dynamic material instance for that, but you build the logic pretty much the same way. So yeah, there we go. Now if you can go and play this back, we go and see the coffee cup going really hot, and then it's cooling down again. I hope this was helpful. I hope you've learned a lot. I hope you can apply it to your own projects. Thank you so much for watching. Share this video, please, with friends, family, and total strangers if you feel it was helpful. And I hope I will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.